Good evening and welcome to Dreamy Academy. Tonight we embark on a journey not across vast cosmic distances, nor through the deep history of Earth, but into a universe far more intimate, yet no less profound, the intricate architecture of your own nervous system, beginning with the human spinal cord. As we prepare to drift into this quiet exploration, I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight. Perhaps your city is bathed in moonlight, or perhaps the sun is just beginning its slow ascent across your sky. If you find peace and fascination in these gentle expeditions into science, please consider taking a moment to like this video and subscribe to our quiet corner of curiosity. To those already part of this thoughtful community, my sincere thanks for your continued presence. Have you ever considered the quiet miracle of simply being? The soft rustle of sheets, the gentle hum of the night, the subtle sensation of breath moving in and out of your lungs. Each of these seemingly simple experiences is, in truth, an astonishing symphony of electrical whispers, a vast unseen network of communication firing within you, moment by moment. It is a system so ancient, so refined, that it orchestrates the very essence of your existence, from the beating of your heart to the deepest stirrings of thought. Tonight we begin to unravel the threads of this internal tapestry, to trace the pathways of sensation and command that define your interaction with the world and with yourself. We will explore the delicate living cables that carry these vital messages, the protective structures that shield them, and the tiny miraculous cells that form the very language of life. This is not merely a lecture, but an invitation to gaze upon the profound beauty of your own design, to find wonder in the precision and elegance woven into your very being. There is a particular comfort in understanding the silent, tireless work happening within us, a deeper appreciation for the intricate dance of matter and energy that allows us to feel, to move, to dream. Let's begin by considering the spinal cord itself, often imagined as a simple bone, part of the rigid framework of our back. But picture, if you will, something far more delicate, far more alive, a precious living cable, no thicker than your thumb, yet carrying the very essence of your being. This is the spinal cord, a shimmering soft column of nervous tissue, extending gently from the base of your brain down through the central channel of your spine. It is the grand central highway of communication, the primary conduit through which the brain converses with the vast landscapes of the body, and vice versa. This vital cord is not merely a passive wire, it is a dynamic, bustling thoroughfare, a river of information constantly flowing. Imagine it as a superhighway of life, where billions of tiny messages are travelling simultaneously in both directions at speeds that defy our conscious perception. From the delicate touch of a fingertip to the complex coordination required to walk, from the subtle ache of a muscle to the automatic rhythm of your breathing, nearly every sensation you perceive and every movement you initiate relies on the integrity and tireless work of this remarkable structure. To protect this indispensable lifeline, nature has provided a masterpiece of biomechanical engineering, the vertebral column. This series of 30 individual bones, or vertebrae, are stacked one upon another, forming a flexible yet incredibly strong shield around the spinal cord. Each vertebra is a sculpted shield, patiently guarding the vital flow, allowing for movement while maintaining a secure sanctuary. Between these bony segments, soft resilient discs act as shock absorbers, cushioning the spine against the endless gentle impacts of daily life, ensuring the delicate cord within remains undisturbed. It is a testament to evolution's patient artistry, a design refined over millions of years to balance strength with suppleness, protection with possibility. Now, let us zoom in, far beyond the scale of bones and cables, into the microscopic realm where the actual work of communication unfolds. Here, we encounter the fundamental units of this living network, the neurons. These are the cells that speak the language of electricity and chemistry, the tiny, intricate cosmoses that form the very fabric of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Imagine each neuron as a miniature tree, its roots reaching out to gather whispers from its neighbours, and its branches extending far to share its own urgent messages. A typical neuron possesses three main parts, each with a crucial role in this ongoing conversation. First, the cell body, or soma, is the neuron's command centre, its luminous core. This is where the cell's life processes are maintained, where decisions are made, and where the neuron's unique identity is preserved. Extending from the cell body are the dendrites, delicate branching antennae that resemble the gnarled roots of an ancient tree. These dendrites are the primary receivers of information, listening intently to the electrical and chemical signals sent by thousands of other neurons. They gather these whispers, these subtle impulses, and channel them towards the cell body. Then there is the axon, a single, often much longer extension that projects away from the cell body, like a solitary, slender branch reaching out. The axon is the neuron's primary transmitter, its broadcasting station. It is through this axon that the neuron sends its own messages, often over surprisingly long distances. Some axons, reaching from your spinal cord to the tips of your toes, can be a metre or more in length, a testament to the incredible scale and reach of these microscopic pathways. These impulses, travelling along the axon, are not unlike the quiet flicker of distant stars, each one a burst of energy, a fleeting thought, carrying meaning across the vast internal landscape of your body. This intricate dance, unseen and unheard by our conscious mind, is the very foundation of who we are. Every sensation, from the warmth of a cup in your hands to the distant echo of a memory, begins as an electrical signal, a rapid shift in the balance of ions across a neuron's membrane. These signals cascade through networks of neurons, travelling up the spinal cord to the brain, where they are interpreted, given meaning, and transformed into our subjective experience of reality. Conversely, every deliberate movement, every nuanced gesture originates as a command from the brain, translated into electrical impulses that travel down the spinal cord and out to the muscles, orchestrating their precise contractions. We have begun to glimpse the central highway of the spinal cord and the fundamental messengers, the neurons, that populate its pathways. But how do these whispers travel? How do these tiny sparks become the grand symphony of sensation and movement? How does information leap from one neuron to the next? And what are the precise routes these messages take? That question invites us deeper into the labyrinthine pathways of the nervous system itself, into the fascinating world of neural circuits and the delicate art of synaptic transmission, which we shall explore together in our next quiet hour. As we gently concluded our last quiet gathering, we marvelled at the exquisite journey of an electrical whisper, a bioelectrical impulse, as it traversed the length of a single neuron, from the delicate reception of its dendrites, through the central command of its cell body, and along the slender expanse of its axon. We witnessed the internal spark, the swift, silent cascade of ion shifts that propelled information with incredible speed. But now, dear friends, we arrive at an even more astonishing juncture, a moment of profound wonder. How does this spark, this vital message, leap from one neuron to the next? How does information so meticulously carried bridge the tiny yet immensely significant chasm between these individual cellular messengers? Today we delve into the secrets of this transmission, exploring the elegant dance that occurs at the very heart of neural communication, the place where one neuron ends and another begins its crucial work. We are speaking, of course, of the synapse, a word that, for all its scientific precision, truly describes a moment of almost magical connection. Imagine, if you will, two magnificent trees, their branches reaching towards each other but never quite touching. Between them lies a sliver of air, a space that seems to demand a bridge. The synapse is precisely this bridge, yet it is not a physical span, but a marvel of biochemical ingenuity. This microscopic gap, known as the synaptic cleft, is where the electrical signal we discuss transforms into a chemical messenger, only to be reborn as an electrical signal in the next neuron. It is a moment of exquisite translation, a silent conversation carried on the breath of molecules. Let us approach this delicate interface with the reverence it deserves. When an electrical impulse, or action potential, arrives at the very end of a neuron's axon, a specialized region we call the axon terminal, it doesn't simply jump across the gap. Oh no, nature in its infinite wisdom has designed a far more sophisticated and nuanced system. At the axon terminal, tiny sacs like miniature, perfectly sealed envelopes await their cue. These are the synaptic vesicles, and within them reside the precious cargo, chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters. Upon the arrival of that electrical impulse, these vesicles are prompted to move towards the very edge of the axon terminal. They fuse with the neuron's outer membrane, and in a graceful, almost imperceptible exhalation, they release their neurotransmitter contents into the synaptic cleft. Picture this: a cascade of microscopic keys, each designed with a breathtaking specificity, now drifting across the silent divide. This release is not a haphazard event. It is a meticulously choreographed ballet, ensuring that the message is delivered with precision and intent. Now, on the other side of this tiny chasm, patiently awaiting these molecular keys, are the dendrites or cell body of the postsynaptic neuron, the receiving cell. Embedded within its membrane are specialized structures called receptors. These receptors are like intricate locks, each perfectly shaped to receive a particular neurotransmitter key. When a neurotransmitter molecule, having traversed the synaptic cleft, finds its corresponding receptor, it binds to it. This binding is the moment of recognition, the silent acknowledgement of the message. What happens next is truly remarkable. The binding of the neurotransmitter to its receptor acts as a trigger, opening tiny channels in the postsynaptic neuron's membrane. And just like that, the quiet shift of ions begins anew, initiating a fresh electrical signal in the receiving neuron. The chemical message has been successfully translated back into an electrical impulse, ready to continue its journey down the next neuron's axon. It is a relay race of unparalleled elegance, where chemical whispers become electrical shouts, and information flows seamlessly from one cellular messenger to the next. But the story of synaptic transmission is even richer, for not all neurotransmitters act as simple on-switches. Nature, ever the master of balance, has endowed our nervous system with a symphony of chemical signals. Some neurotransmitters are excitatory, meaning they encourage the postsynaptic neuron to fire its own electrical impulse. They are the gentle nudges, the whispered "yes, continue," that propel information forward. A common example is acetylcholine, vital for muscle contraction, allowing us to move, to smile, to breathe. Other neurotransmitters, however, are inhibitory. Their role is to dampen the activity of the postsynaptic neuron to make it less likely to fire. They are the quiet pauses, the thoughtful wait to reflect that prevent the nervous system from becoming overwhelmed by a cacophony of signals. Think of GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, a primary inhibitory neurotransmitter which helps to calm the brain, acting like a gentle hand soothing an overactive mind. This delicate interplay between excitation and inhibition is crucial for the precise control and harmonious functioning of our entire nervous system, ensuring that signals are not only transmitted, but also finely modulated. And there are many, many more, each with its own unique role in the grand orchestra of our being. Dopamine, often associated with pleasure and reward, drives our motivations and desires. Serotonin, a profound influencer of mood, sleep and appetite, weaves itself into the fabric of our emotional landscape. Norepinephrine plays a key role in our attention and stress response, sharpening our focus when needed. Each of these molecular messengers contributes to the rich internal tapestry that is our consciousness, our sensations, our very existence. As we move from the singular leap across a synapse, we begin to appreciate the grander design, the neural circuits. Neurons do not exist in isolation, nor do they simply connect one-to-one in a linear fashion. Instead, they form incredibly intricate, interconnected pathways, like a vast living electrical grid, or an endlessly complex roadmap etched within the very substance of our being. These circuits are the precise routes, the pre-programmed pathways through which information flows, allowing for rapid and coordinated responses. Let us consider a fundamental example, the reflex arc. Imagine you accidentally touch something hot. Instantly, before your brain has even consciously registered the pain, your hand recoils. How does this happen with such astonishing speed? A sensory neuron with its specialized receptors in your skin detects the heat. This electrical signal travels up the sensory neuron through the spinal cord. Here it takes a shortcut. It synapses directly onto an interneuron, a kind of relay neuron within the spinal cord itself. This interneuron, in turn, immediately synapses onto a motor neuron. The motor neuron then sends its own electrical signal down its axon out of the spinal cord and directly to the muscles in your arm, instructing them to contract and pull your hand away. This entire process occurs in milliseconds, bypassing the conscious processing centers of the brain initially. The brain will eventually receive the pain signal, but the immediate protective withdrawal is handled by this elegant, pre-wired neural circuit in your spinal cord. It is a testament to the quiet wisdom of your body, a masterpiece of biomechanical engineering designed for immediate survival. But these circuits extend far beyond simple reflexes. They form ascending pathways carrying sensory information up the spinal cord to the brain, signals of touch, temperature, pain, and proprioception, our sense of body position. They also form descending pathways carrying motor commands down from the brain to the muscles, allowing us to walk, to write, to perform the myriad complex movements that define our lives. These pathways are not just simple lines, they branch, converge and diverge, forming highly sophisticated networks capable of processing, integrating and coordinating an immense amount of information simultaneously. The beauty of these neural circuits lies not only in their intricate structure, but also in their dynamic nature. They are not static, unchanging pathways. No, our nervous system possesses an incredible capacity for plasticity. meaning these circuits can adapt, strengthen, or even reconfigure themselves in response to experience, learning, and injury. Every new skill you acquire, every memory you form, every thought you entertain subtly reshapes the delicate architecture of these neural connections. The more a particular circuit is used, the more efficient and robust its synaptic connections become, literally strengthening the pathway. It is how we learn to play an instrument, to speak a new language, or to remember a cherished face. So as we reflect on the journey from a single neuron spark to the complex interplay of chemical messengers across a synapse, and then to the vast interconnected web of neural circuits, we begin to truly grasp the spinal cord's profound role. It is not merely a passive conduit, it is an active, intelligent superhighway, orchestrating a ceaseless flow of information, translating, relaying, and integrating messages with unparalleled efficiency. It is the silent, vigilant guardian of the communication between your inner world and the world around you. We have begun to peel back the layers of this extraordinary structure to understand the individual components and their initial dance. Next, we will continue our exploration by tracing specific sensory pathways, understanding how the subtle caress of a breeze or the sharp sting of a prickle finds its way from your fingertips through these intricate circuits and ultimately to the very seat of your consciousness, the brain. Until then, let us carry with us this newfound appreciation for the quiet, vital work happening within, a testament to the miraculous design of life itself. And so, with our understanding of the neural dance, the intricate choreography of signals and synapses, we are ready to embark on a new leg of our journey. We have explored the silent whispers between neurons, the rapid fire of reflex arcs, and the marvelous adaptability of the nervous system. Now, let us turn our gaze outward, toward the world that bathes us in sensation, and inward, to the incredible pathways that bring that world to life within us. How, we might ask, does the delicate brush of a feather, the warmth of a sunbeam, or the sharpness of a sudden pain translate into the rich tapestry of our conscious experience? How do these external stimuli find their way from the very edges of our being, up the spinal cord, and into the grand processing centers of the brain? Today, we shall trace these remarkable sensory pathways, following the whispers of sensation as they ascend from the periphery, guiding us through the intricate architecture that allows us to perceive and interact with our environment. It is a journey from the skin, muscles, and joints through the spinal cord's carefully organized columns to the brain's highest interpretive centers. Prepare your minds, for we are about to explore the very conduits of perception, the vital lines of communication that connect our inner selves to the boundless external world. Our story begins not in the brain, but at the very frontier of our interaction with the environment, the sensory receptors. Imagine, if you will, millions upon millions of tiny antennae, exquisite biological sensors spread across every inch of your skin, nestled deep within your muscles, joints, and internal organs. These are the specialized cells, or the nerve endings of neurons, designed by nature's patient artistry to detect specific types of stimuli. Some, the mechanoreceptors, are exquisitely tuned to pressure, touch, vibration, and stretch, allowing us to feel the texture of silk, the rumble of distant thunder, or the precise position of our limbs in space. Others, the thermoreceptors, vigilantly monitor temperature, signaling the gentle coolness of a morning breeze or the searing heat of a forgotten stove. Then there are the nociceptors, our body's vital alarm system, specialized to detect noxious, potentially damaging stimuli that we perceive as pain, a crucial guardian against injury. And let us not forget the proprioceptors, the silent, tireless navigators hidden within our muscles and joints, constantly reporting on the stretch and tension of our tissues, allowing us to know where our body parts are without having to look, enabling the effortless grace of movement. These receptors are the first responders, the initial translators. When a stimulus, gentle touch, a rise in temperature, a painful poke activates them, they convert that physical energy into an electrical signal, a language the nervous system understands. This is the moment a sensation is born, a spark ignited at the very edge of our being. From these peripheral outposts, the electrical signals embark on their journey along the axons of what we call first-order neurons. These neurons are unique. Their cell bodies reside in clusters just outside the spinal cord, within structures known as the dorsal root ganglia. Think of the dorsal root ganglia as small dedicated way stations, where the cell bodies of these sensory neurons gather, like travellers pausing at the entrance to a great city before continuing their journey. The axon of each first-order neuron has two branches. One extends to the receptor in the periphery, and the other dives into the spinal cord, entering through the dorsal horn. This entry point is crucial, for it is here that the sensory information truly begins its ascent towards conscious perception. The spinal cord, as we've discussed, is far more than just a simple cable for reflex arcs. It is a highly organized, sophisticated processing and relay center, a bustling thoroughfare where information is sorted, prioritized, and directed. As these first-order sensory neurons enter the dorsal horn, their axons take different paths depending on the type of information they carry. Nature, in its infinite wisdom, has designed distinct, parallel pathways for the different sensory modalities, ensuring that the integrity and specificity of each signal are maintained. Let us first trace the path of fine touch, vibration, and proprioception, the sensations that give us such exquisite detail about our physical world. These are carried by the whole dorsal column medial lemniscus, DCML pathway. Imagine a sculptor's hands feeling the subtle contours of clay, or a musician's fingers navigating the precise spacing of frets on a guitar. This precision, this nuanced awareness, is largely thanks to the DCML pathway. When the first-order neurons carrying these delicate signals enter the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, they do something quite remarkable. They ascend directly up the spinal cord on the same side of the body from which the sensation originated. They travel in dedicated bundles of axons called the dorsal columns, the fasciculus gracilis for signals from the lower body, and the fasciculus cuneatus for signals from the upper body. These bundles are like express lanes on a superhighway, carrying highly specific information with minimal interruption. They bypass any immediate synapses within the spinal cord grey matter, instead continuing their upward journey, sometimes for the entire length of the spinal cord until they reach the brainstem. It is in the medulla, a vital part of the brainstem, that these first-order neurons finally synapse. Here, they meet their second-order neurons in specialized nuclei, known as the nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus. This is a critical junction, for immediately after this synapse, something profound occurs. These second-order neurons cross over, or decusseir, to the opposite side of the brainstem. They then ascend as a distinct tract called the medial lemniscus. So, a delicate touch on your left hand after travelling up the left side of your spinal cord to the medulla now continues its journey up the right side of your brainstem. This crossing over is a fundamental principle of our nervous system, explaining why damage to one side of the brain often affects the opposite side of the body. The medial lemniscus continues its ascent, carrying its precious cargo of fine sensory detail until it reaches the thalamus. The thalamus. We might call it the grand central station of the brain, the ultimate relay point for almost all sensory information, with the notable exception of smell, before it reaches the cerebral cortex. Specifically for the DCML pathway, the medial lemniscus synapses with third-order neurons in the ventral posterior lateral (VPL) nucleus of the thalamus. Here the information is further refined and integrated, like a conductor preparing an orchestra for its grand performance. From the thalamus, these third-order neurons project directly to the primary somatosensory cortex, located in the postcentral gyrus of the parietal lobe. This is the ultimate destination for conscious perception of touch, vibration, and proprioception. It is here that the raw electrical signals are finally translated into the subjective experience of feeling, where the brain constructs a detailed, vivid map of our body and its interaction with the world. Now, let us turn our attention to another crucial pathway, one that carries signals of pain, temperature, and crude touch, sensations vital for our survival and the immediate awareness. This is the spinothalamic pathway, often referred to as the anterolateral system. Imagine the searing heat of a hot stove or the sharp prick of a thorn. These urgent, often visceral sensations travel along a different route, designed for speed and alarm. When first-order neurons carrying pain and temperature signals enter the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, their journey diverges significantly from that of the DCML pathway. Instead of ascending directly, these neurons immediately synapse with second-order neurons within the grey matter of the dorsal horn, at or very near the level of their entry. This immediate synapse is a key difference. And here, another critical decussation occurs. These second-order neurons cross over to the opposite side of the spinal cord at the same segmental level. So a painful stimulus on your left foot will activate a first-order neuron that enters the left side of your spinal cord synapses, and then the second-order neuron immediately crosses to the right side of the spinal cord to begin its ascent. Once crossed, these second-order neurons ascend in the anterolateral columns of the spinal cord, forming the spinothalamic tracts. These tracts are like the emergency lanes on our superhighway, designed to convey vital, often alarming, information rapidly to the brain. They ascend through the brainstem alongside the medial lemniscus, but maintaining their distinct identity. Like the DCML pathway, the spinothalamic pathway also culminates in the thalamus, the second-order neuron synapse with third-order neurons primarily in the ventral posterior lateral (VPL) nucleus of the thalamus, similar to the DCML pathway, ensuring that we have a clear, localized perception of pain and temperature. However, some fibers of the spinothalamic pathway also project to other thalamic nuclei, such as the intralaminar nuclei, which are involved in the more diffuse, emotional, and arousal aspects of pain, contributing to the unpleasantness and distress associated with it. This dual projection highlights the multifaceted nature of pain perception, encompassing not just its location but also its emotional impact. From the thalamus, these third-order neurons, like their DCML counterparts, project to the primary somatosensory cortex. It is here that the conscious perception of pain, temperature, and crude touch is localized and interpreted. But the story doesn't end there, especially for pain. The signals also fan out to other brain regions, including the insular and anterior cingulate cortex, which are involved in the emotional and cognitive processing of pain, allowing us to not just feel pain, but to suffer from it, to learn from it, and to react to it in complex ways. So we see two major ascending sensory pathways, elegantly designed to carry different types of information. The DCML pathway, with its direct ascent and decussation in the brainstem, provides highly localized discriminative information, the subtle nuances of touch and proprioception. The spinothalamic pathway, with its immediate synapse and crossing within the spinal cord, conveys more urgent, often less localized but equally vital information, pain and temperature. Both pathways, however, share the common destination of the thalamus, the gatekeeper to consciousness, and ultimately the somatosensory cortex, where the symphony of sensation is fully realized. As these signals arrive at the primary somatosensory cortex, they are organized in a fascinating spatial map, often referred to as the sensory homunculus. Imagine a distorted little person stretched across the surface of your brain, with body parts represented proportionally to their sensory innervation, not their physical size. Your lips, tongue, and fingertips, being incredibly sensitive, occupy disproportionately large areas, while your back or thigh, though physically larger, receives a smaller cortical representation. This remarkable map allows the brain to pinpoint the exact location and nature of a stimulus, creating a rich, detailed, and highly personal sensory world. We have journeyed from the outermost reaches of our body through the intricate highways of the spinal cord and brainstem to the sophisticated processing centers of the thalamus and cerebral cortex. We have witnessed the ingenious design of parallel pathways, the critical crossing over of information, and the final interpretation that allows us to consciously experience the world around us. It is a testament to the profound complexity and elegance of the human nervous system, a system that tirelessly translates the physical world into the vibrant tapestry of our subjective reality. As we conclude this exploration of sensory ascent, take a moment to appreciate the quiet, ceaseless work happening within you right now. Every subtle pressure, every slight change in temperature, every shift in your body's position is being meticulously reported, relayed, and interpreted. It is a continuous living stream of data, forming the foundation of our interaction with everything external to us. In our next gathering, we shall turn our attention from sensing the world to acting upon it, exploring the equally complex and fascinating motor pathways that allow us to move, to respond, and to shape our environment. Until then, carry this renewed sense of wonder for the intricate machinery that enables your every perception. And so we arrive at another threshold, another gentle turning of the page in our shared exploration. We have journeyed inward, tracing the delicate whispers of the world as they travel from the periphery of our being, up the spinal cord and into the grand processing centers of the brain. We have marveled at how a touch, a warmth, a subtle shift in our posture transforms into electrical poetry, mapping itself onto the canvas of our somatosensory cortex. But what happens then? What occurs after the brain has received and interpreted this rich tapestry of sensation? Now we turn our gaze, and indeed our very intention, towards the outward flow, the magnificent pathways that translate thought into deed, desire into motion. If the ascending tracts were the quiet, observant messengers, carrying news from the world to the central command, then the descending motor pathways are the resolute couriers bearing instructions from the brain down the very same spinal superhighway to the waiting muscles. This is where the symphony of life finds its conductor, where the silent intention blossoms into the graceful dance of action. Imagine, if you will, the brain as a grand visionary architect constantly conceiving new structures, new movements, new ways of interacting with the world. But an architect's vision, however brilliant, remains a mere dream until the blueprints are meticulously drawn and dispatched to the skilled builders. These blueprints, these commands for movement, are precisely what the descending motor pathways represent. They are the intricate designs for every step we take, every gesture we make, every word we speak, every quiet breath we draw. At the heart of this intricate command system lies the corticospinal tract, often referred to as the pyramidal tract due to its distinctive shape in the medulla. This is the pathway most intimately associated with our conscious, voluntary, and highly skilled movements. The precision of a musician's fingers, the delicate stroke of a painter's brush, the nuanced expression on a speaker's face, or simply the intentional lifting of a cup to our lips. Let us trace its extraordinary journey together, following the path of these vital commands. Our story begins high in the cerebral cortex, specifically within the primary motor cortex, a region nestled just anterior to the central sulcus, a geographical landmark we might recall from our earlier discussions. Here in this bustling command center live the upper motor neurons, UMNs. These are the master strategists, the originators of the movement plan. When you decide to reach for something, to stand up, or even just to wiggle your toes, it is here that the initial electrical impulse, the spark of intention, is ignited. From the primary motor cortex, these upper motor neurons embark on their long descending journey. Their axons, like resolute threads of intention, plunge deep into the brain, passing through the white matter, forming a compact bundle known as the internal capsule. This is a critical crossroads, a narrow passage where an immense volume of motor commands converges, destined for the spinal cord. Continuing their descent, these fibers traverse the brainstem, passing through the midbrain and the pons until they reach the medulla oblongata. And it is here in the medulla that one of the most remarkable and pivotal events in the entire motor pathway occurs, the pyramidal decussation. Here, the vast majority, approximately 85–90%, of the corticospinal tract fibers elegantly and decisively cross over to the opposite side of the body. What began as a command from the left motor cortex will now largely control movements on the right side of the body, and vice versa. Pause for a moment and consider the profound elegance of this crossing. It means that the left hemisphere of your brain, often associated with language and logical thought, is simultaneously orchestrating the movements of your right hand as you write or gesture. And your right hemisphere, often linked to creativity and spatial awareness, guides your left hand in its intricate tasks. It is a testament to nature's profound design, a bilateral symmetry of control achieved through this singular, decisive crossing. After this magnificent decussation, the now crossed fibers continue their descent down the spinal cord, primarily within the lateral corticospinal tract, situated in the lateral white columns. These are the fibers that will bring the nuanced commands for fine, voluntary movements to the muscles of our limbs. The remaining uncrossed fibers, a smaller percentage, continue down the same side in the anterior corticospinal tract, primarily influencing movements of the axial muscles, those responsible for posture and trunk stability, eventually crossing at the level of their target muscles in the spinal cord. As these upper motor neuron axons travel down the spinal cord, they are constantly seeking their specific destinations. At each segmental level of the spinal cord, corresponding to different parts of the body, these descending fibers will ultimately synapse. They terminate within the ventral horn of the grey matter, which, you might recall, is the anterior, butterfly wing-like projection of the spinal cord's central grey matter. Here, they will either synapse directly onto lower motor neurons, LMNs, or more commonly onto interneurons, which then relay the command to the lower motor neurons. These lower motor neurons residing in the ventral horn are the final common pathway. They are the immediate executors of the brain's commands. Their axons exit the spinal cord via the ventral roots, merging to form the peripheral nerves that extend outwards, directly innervating the skeletal muscles. When an action potential, a precise electrical instruction, reaches the lower motor neuron, it triggers the release of neurotransmitters at the neuromuscular junction, causing the muscle fibers to contract. This is the moment when thought becomes action, when the architect's blueprint becomes a tangible movement. So the corticospinal tract is our primary conduit for conscious, skilled movement. But our movements are rarely just about individual muscle contractions. They are fluid, coordinated, and often accompanied by unconscious adjustments for balance, posture, and muscle tone. For this complex orchestration, we rely on a chorus of other descending pathways, collectively known as the extrapyramidal tracts. While the corticospinal tract is the lead soloist for voluntary action, these extrapyramidal pathways are the vital rhythm section and harmony, ensuring everything works in concert. Let's briefly meet some of these crucial supporting players. First, consider the reticulospinal tract. Originating from the reticular formation in the brainstem, a diffuse network of neurons, this tract is a silent sentinel of our posture and balance. It plays a significant role in maintaining muscle tone, especially in the trunk and proximal limbs, preparing our body for movement and preventing us from toppling over with every shift of weight. It's the subtle, unconscious adjustment that keeps us upright, the gentle hand of stability guiding our every step. Then there is the cerebrospinal tract, originating from the red nucleus in the midbrain. While less prominent in humans than in some other species, it contributes to the control of muscle tone, particularly in the flexor muscles of the upper limbs. It adds another layer of fine-tuning, another subtle brushstroke to the canvas of our movements. The vestibulospinal tracts, stemming from the vestibular nuclei in the brainstem, are our internal navigators for balance. They receive input from the inner ear, sensing head movements and position, and then send commands down the spinal cord to adjust muscle activity in the neck, trunk, and limbs. This pathway is critical for maintaining equilibrium, helping us stay steady as we walk, turn, or even simply stand against the pull of gravity. It's the quiet, constant recalibration that keeps our world from spinning out of control. And finally, we have the tectospinal tract, originating from the superior colliculus in the midbrain. This pathway is specialized for mediating reflex movements of the head, neck, and upper limbs in response to sudden visual or auditory stimuli. Imagine a sudden flash of light in your peripheral vision or an unexpected sound. This tract is responsible for the rapid, involuntary turning of your head towards the source, a primal protective reflex that allows us to quickly orient ourselves to potential threats or points of interest. These extrapyramidal pathways, though often operating below the level of conscious awareness, are indispensable. They work in tandem with the corticospinal tract, providing the foundational stability, the subtle adjustments, and the rapid reflexes that allow our voluntary movements to be smooth, effective, and seesaw. Without them, our intentional actions would be clumsy, uncoordinated, and constantly battling against gravity and instability. We have traced the command from its genesis in the motor cortex, down the magnificent corticospinal tract, through the decisive pyramidal decussation, and finally to the lower motor neurons in the spinal cord's ventral horn. We have also glimpsed the crucial supporting roles played by the extrapyramidal pathways. This journey culminates in the whole motor unit, a single lower motor neuron and all the muscle fibers it innervates. This is the ultimate bridge, the final connection where the electrical whisper from the brain transforms into the physical contraction of muscle, giving rise to movement. From the quiet contemplation of a thought, through the intricate neural architecture of the brain and spinal cord, to the powerful contraction of a muscle, this entire process unfolds in fractions of a second, seamlessly, effortlessly, countless times a day. It is a testament to the unparalleled efficiency and elegance of the human's nervous system. We have now journeyed from the sensory perception of the world to the active engagement with it. We have seen how information flows both inward and outward, creating a continuous dynamic loop that defines our existence. And as we conclude this chapter, reflecting on the intricate dance of motor commands, we are left with a deeper appreciation for the silent, tireless work happening within us, enabling every conscious gesture, every unconscious adjustment. What a profound privilege it is to witness this masterpiece of biomechanical engineering, this living symphony of intention and action. But our journey is not yet complete. We have explored the pathways, the individual threads of this internal tapestry. Now, perhaps, we might turn our attention to the broader networks, to the larger systems that orchestrate these individual movements into complex behaviors, and the very architecture of the spinal cord itself in a more holistic sense. What wonders, we might ask, still await our gentle inquiry? As we journeyed through the intricate dance of descending motor pathways, we witnessed how the brain's commands translate into the graceful, deliberate movements of our bodies. We understood the pathways that carry the whispers of intention from cortex to muscle, the pyramidal tracts orchestrating our conscious will, and the extrapyramidal systems providing the steady, unconscious rhythm of posture and balance. Yet a deeper mystery lingered, didn't it? How are these individual movements, these isolated commands, woven into the rich tapestry of complex behaviors? How does the spinal cord, this elegant column of nerve tissue, truly integrate the vast ocean of sensory input with the cascade of motor output, becoming more than just a simple conduit, but an intelligent hub, a local orchestrator of life itself? Today, we delve into this profound integration, exploring the spinal cord not merely as a superhighway, but as a bustling city, a vibrant center of information processing and decision-making. We will uncover its intricate architecture, its segmental organization, and the subtle ways it manages the symphony of our internal and external worlds, often without our conscious awareness. Let us begin by appreciating the spinal cord's incredible capacity for integration. Imagine, if you will, a grand central station where countless trains arrive and depart simultaneously. Sensory information streams in from every corner of the body, carrying tales of touch, temperature, pain, and position. At the same instant, motor commands descend from the brain, dictating every twitch and turn. The spinal cord doesn't just let these trains pass through. It possesses an astonishing network of interneurons, the unsung heroes of integration. These tiny, intricate neurons act as local switchboards, receiving signals from both ascending sensory pathways and descending motor tracts. They analyze, modulate, and redistribute these signals, forming complex local circuits that can generate sophisticated, coordinated responses. It is here, in the quiet depths of the grey matter, that the spinal cord begins to exhibit its own form of intelligence, its capacity to orchestrate simple yet vital actions, freeing the brain to contemplate higher thoughts. To truly understand this local intelligence, we must first appreciate the remarkable segmental organization of the spinal cord. Picture our living cable not as a single, undifferentiated strand, but as a series of distinct yet interconnected segments. From the cervical region of your neck down to the coccygeal tip, The spinal cord is divided into 31 pairs of spinal nerves that emerge laterally, like branches from the trunk of an ancient tree. We have 8 cervical, C1, C8, 12 thoracic, T1, T12, 5 lumbar, L1, L5, 5 sacral, S1, S5, and 1 tiny coccygeal nerve. Each pair of nerves corresponds to a specific segment of the spinal cord and is responsible for innervating a particular region of the body. Consider how each spinal nerve forms. It begins as 2 distinct roots within the vertebral canal. The dorsal root, carrying all the sensory information into the spinal cord, swells into the dorsal root ganglion, where the cell bodies of our first-order sensory neurons reside. This is the gateway for all the world's sensations to enter our internal landscape. Conversely, the whole ventral root carries all the motor commands out of the spinal cord. It's fed as originating from the lower motor neurons in the ventral horn, destined for the muscles. These 2 roots, sensory and motor, unite just beyond the dorsal root ganglion to form a single spinal nerve, a mixed cable carrying both afferent sensory and efferent motor fibers. It is a beautiful, efficient design, ensuring a seamless 2-way communication channel for each segment of your body. As these spinal nerves emerge, they don't always travel directly to their target muscles or skin areas. In several regions, particularly where limb movement requires exquisite coordination, these nerves weave together into intricate networks known as plexuses. Think of them as magnificent distribution hubs, where nerve fibers from different spinal segments intermingle and redistribute, ensuring that multiple muscles and skin areas of a limb receive innervation from a blend of spinal segments. The cervical plexus, C1, C5, serves the neck and diaphragm, orchestrating the vital rhythm of breath. The brachial plexus, C5, T1, is a marvel of complexity, giving rise to the major nerves of your arm, forearm, and hand, enabling the precision grip, the powerful swing, the delicate touch. Lower down, the lumbar plexus, L1, L4, innervates the anterior and medial thigh, while the sacral plexus, L4, S4, forms the major nerves of the posterior thigh, leg, and foot, allowing us to walk, run, and balance. These plexuses are a testament to nature's engineering, ensuring redundancy and comprehensive innovation for complex limb function. This segmental organization gives rise to the fascinating concepts of dermatomes and myotomes, the body's own internal maps. A dermatome is a specific area of skin that is predominantly supplied by sensory nerve fibers from a single spinal nerve segment. Imagine your skin as a vast geographical map, divided into distinct territories, each under the jurisdiction of a specific spinal nerve. A gentle touch on your thumb, for instance, sends its message primarily through the C6 dermatome. A scrape on your knee activates the L4 dermatome. These maps are remarkably consistent from person to person, providing invaluable diagnostic tools for clinicians to pinpoint the level of a spinal cord injury or nerve compression. If you experience numbness or tingling in a specific dermatomal pattern, it tells a precise story about where the nerve pathway might be compromised. Similarly, a myotomy refers to the group of muscles that are primarily innervated by the motor nerve fibers from a single spinal nerve segment. Just as dermatomes map sensation, myotomies map movement and strength. For example, the C5 myotomy is largely responsible for shoulder abduction, lifting your arm out to the side, while the S1 myotomy governs plantar flexion, pointing your toes. By testing the strength of specific muscle groups, we can assess the integrity of the motor pathways at particular spinal cord levels. Together, dermatomes and myotomes paint a detailed picture of the spinal cord's direct connection to every part of your periphery, allowing us to understand how sensation arrives and how movement departs segment by segment. But the spinal cord's orchestration extends beyond conscious sensation and voluntary movement. It also serves as a crucial hub for the autonomic nervous system, ANS. The quiet conductor of our internal world, regulating everything from heartbeat and digestion to pupil dilation and sweating without any conscious effort on our part. This system is divided into two main branches, the sympathetic and parasympathetic, which often work in opposition, maintaining a delicate balance within our bodies. The sympathetic nervous system, often dubbed the fight or flight response, has its origins within the spinal cord's thoracolumbar outflow. Specifically, the cell bodies of its preganglionic neurons reside in the lateral horns of the grey matter from the first thoracic segment, T1, down to the second or third lumbar segment, L2 or cell 3. From here, their axons exit the spinal cord, travel to sympathetic ganglia, often forming the sympathetic chain, and then synapse with postganglionic neurons that ultimately innervate target organs throughout the body. When you encounter a sudden scare, it is this thoracolumbar outflow that orchestrates the rapid increase in heart rate, the surge of adrenaline, and the diversion of blood flow to your muscles, all in preparation for action, a rapid internal mobilization commanded directly from the spinal cord. Conversely, the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest counterpart, also has a spinal cord component known as the sacral outflow. While some parasympathetic fibers originate from cranial nerves in the brainstem, the lower half of its domain arises from the lateral horns of the second to fourth sacral segments, S2 or S4 of the spinal cord. These fibers extend to ganglia near the pelvic organs, orchestrating functions like bladder contraction, bowel movements, and sexual arousal. It is the gentle hand that guides our body back to a state of calm, conserving energy, and promoting restorative processes. Thus, the spinal cord, through its sympathetic and parasympathetic pathways, stands as a vital bridge between our brain and the intricate, unconscious rhythms of our internal organs, constantly fine-tuning our physiology to meet the demands of life. Now, let us revisit the concept of spinal cord reflexes, but with a deeper appreciation for their complexity and their role in local integration. We touched upon the simple reflex arc earlier, a rapid, involuntary response bypassing conscious thought. But the spinal cord is capable of far more sophisticated reflexive actions. Consider the stretch reflex, exemplified by the familiar knee jerk. When a doctor taps your patellar tendon, it stretches the quadriceps muscle. Specialized sensory receptors called muscle spindles detect this stretch and send a signal via a first-order sensory neuron directly to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, this sensory neuron directly synapses with a motor neuron, a monosynaptic reflex, which immediately sends a signal back to the same quadriceps muscle, causing it to contract and your leg to kick. This incredibly fast involuntary reflex helps maintain posture and muscle tone, ensuring that your muscles are always ready to respond, a testament to the spinal cord's capacity for immediate localized action. Or think of the withdrawal reflex, a polysynaptic marvel. If you accidentally touch a hot stove, pain receptors in your skin send signals along sensory neurons to the spinal cord. Here, these neurons synapse with multiple interneurons. Some interneurons excite motor neurons that cause your arm to flex, and withdraw from the heat a rapid protective action. Simultaneously, other interneurons inhibit the motor neurons of the opposing extensor muscles, preventing them from resisting the withdrawal. But the orchestration doesn't stop there. To maintain your balance as you suddenly pull your arm back, the spinal cord activates the crossed extensor reflex. Through yet more interneurons, signals cross to the opposite side of the spinal cord, exciting extensor muscles in the contralateral limb, causing it to stiffen and support your weight. This intricate, multifaceted response, involving coordinated contraction and relaxation across multiple muscle groups, all orchestrated at the spinal level, demonstrates the spinal cord's profound ability to handle complex emergencies with incredible speed and efficiency, often before the sensation of pain even fully registers in your conscious mind. As we conclude this exploration, we stand in awe of the spinal cord's multifaceted role. It is not merely a passive cable, a simple relay station. It is a master integrator, a sophisticated orchestrator of life's most fundamental processes. From its segmental organization giving rise to precise dermatomal and myotomal maps, to its pivotal role in the unconscious ballet of the autonomic nervous system and its capacity to execute complex, life-saving reflexes, the spinal cord truly embodies a local intelligence. It is a testament to nature's elegant design, a masterpiece of biomechanical engineering that ensures our body functions with seamless grace and resilience, often operating in the quiet depths beneath the threshold of our conscious awareness. It is the intelligent backbone of our existence, constantly processing, integrating, and responding, ensuring that the symphony of life continues, note by exquisite note. We have journeyed together, haven't we? From the whispered language of individual neurons to the intricate dance of synaptic transmission, from the silent ascent of sensation to the purposeful descent of movement. We've explored the spinal cord's brilliant segmentation, its mapping of our very skin and muscle, and its profound capacity for autonomous reflexes, those swift, silent guardians of our being. We've marvelled at its role as a vital conduit, a vigilant sentry and an intelligent integrator. But now our gaze broadens. We step back from the exquisite detail of the spinal cord itself to see it not in isolation, but as a pivotal player in the grandest symphony of all, the entire central nervous system. Imagine, if you will, a magnificent orchestra. The spinal cord, with its intricate sections and diligent players, is not merely a collection of soloists or a self-contained chamber group. No, it is the very stage upon which the most profound dramas unfold, the essential bridge connecting the quiet power of the body to the boundless expanse of the mind, guided by the grand conductor, the brain. Think of the spinal cord as the ultimate gateway, a sacred threshold. Every sensation, every whisper of the world outside, and every internal echo must first pass through its elegant architecture to reach the higher realms of perception and interpretation within the brain. And conversely, every conscious decision, every willed movement, every nuanced adjustment born of thought and desire must descend through this same living cable to animate our muscles and interact with our environment. It is a two-way superhighway, yes, but one imbued with a profound intelligence that modulates, filters, and prioritizes the vast streams of information flowing through it. Let us revisit for a moment those ascending pathways we explored, the dorsal column medial lemniscus and the spinothalamic tracts. We understood how they deliver raw data, the precise touch of a feather, the warmth of the sun, the deep ache of a tired muscle. But what happens once these signals ascend beyond the spinal cord, beyond the brainstem, and reach the cerebral cortex? Here, the the true magic of interpretation begins. The primary somatosensory cortex, that remarkable band in the parietal lobe, is merely the first stop. From there, the information is not simply registered, it is woven. It is passed to somatosensory association areas, where that raw data is integrated with memories, with emotions, with other sensory inputs from sight and sound, building a rich, multidimensional tapestry of experience. Consider the simple act of feeling the texture of velvet. Your spinal cord transmits the precise pressure and vibration, but your brain, through these broader networks, recognizes it as velvet, perhaps recalling the luxurious feel of a favorite jacket or the soft lining of a jewelry box. This isn't just sensation, it's perception, imbued with context and meaning. The spinal cord provides the notes, but the brain composes the melody, infusing it with harmony and emotion. And what of the brain's capacity to modulate these incoming signals? It is not a passive recipient. Imagine a bustling marketplace of sensory input, a cacophony of stimuli constantly vying for your attention. The brain, our wise conductor, has the ability to turn down the volume on some signals, to amplify others, to filter out the irrelevant so that we can focus on what truly matters. This ability, often orchestrated through descending pathways that influence spinal cord neurons, allows us to selectively attend to a conversation in a noisy room, or to consciously diminish the awareness of a minor ache when our focus is elsewhere. It's a testament to the dynamic interplay, the constant conversation between the brain's highest centers and the spinal cord's intricate relays. The spinal cord is not just a messenger, it is a discerning gatekeeper, responsive to the brain's directives. Now, let us turn our attention to the magnificent orchestration of movement, those descending pathways that bring our intentions to life. We've spoken of the corticospinal tract, the direct line for voluntary skilled movements, and the extrapyramidal tracts, which quietly maintain our posture and balance. But the brain's motor control is far more sophisticated than simply sending commands down these pathways. It is a collaborative masterpiece involving multiple regions, each playing a crucial role in planning, executing, and refining every gesture, every step, every subtle shift of weight. At the pinnacle of this hierarchy lies the cortex, alces, particularly the primary motor cortex and its associated planning areas in the frontal lobe. Here, the initial spark of intention ignites. It's where you decide to reach for a cup of tea, to write a letter, or to gracefully leap. But before those commands are sent down the spinal cord, they are meticulously crafted and refined by the other brain structures, acting as sophisticated choreographers. Consider the cerebellum, that little brain nestled at the back of our heads. It does not initiate movement, but it is absolutely indispensable for its coordination, precision, and timing. Think of it as the ultimate quality control expert, constantly comparing the intended movement with the actual movement, receiving sensory feedback from the spinal cord about limb position and muscle tension. If there's a discrepancy, the cerebellum swiftly sends corrective signals back up to the motor cortex and down the brainstem pathways that influence spinal cord activity, ensuring smooth, fluid, and accurate motion. It is the cerebellum that allows you to walk a straight line, to catch a ball with ease, to play a musical instrument with grace. Without its subtle influence, our movements would be clumsy, jerky, and uncoordinated, profound testament to its quiet, constant dialogue with the spinal cord's motor neurons. Then there are the basal ganglia, a collection of deep brain nuclei that act as the gatekeepers and initiators of movement. They are like the executive committee, selecting which movements to execute and which to suppress, ensuring that only the desired actions are unleashed. They play a critical role in motor learning, in forming habits, and in setting the go or no-go signal for our actions. When you decide to stand up, the basal ganglia help to initiate that complex sequence of muscle contractions and relaxations, sending their refined instructions through the thalamus back to the cortex, which then sends the final command down the spinal cord. Dysfunctions in the basal ganglia, as seen in conditions like Parkinson's disease, powerfully illustrate their profound impact on the initiation and fluidity of movement, often manifesting as tremors or difficulty starting and stopping actions, despite the spinal cord and muscles themselves being intact. The spinal cord in this intricate dance is the responsive instrument, awaiting the conductor's precise cues. So when we speak of a voluntary movement, it is not merely the motor cortex sending a signal down the corticospinal tract. It is a symphony of collaboration, the frontal lobes planning, the basal ganglia initiating and selecting, the cerebellum refining and coordinating, all sending their integrated instructions directly or indirectly to the spinal cord. The spinal cord in turn translates these complex commands into the precise firing patterns of motor neurons, orchestrating the contraction and relaxation of hundreds of muscles, bringing our intentions into physical reality. It is a marvel of hierarchical control and distributed processing, with the spinal cord serving as the final, crucial relay point for this grand design. Let us also remember the autonomic nervous system, that silent, tireless manager of our internal world whose origins we trace to the thoracolumbar and sacral segments of the spinal cord. While the spinal cord handles the immediate local reflexes, the constriction of blood vessels in response to cold, the emptying of the bladder, it is the brain's higher centers that truly orchestrate the broader, more complex autonomic responses, linking them intimately with our emotions, our stress levels, and even our conscious thoughts. The hypothalamus, often called the brain's master regulator, is a prime example. It is the command center for our basic drives: hunger, thirst, temperature regulation, sleep-wake cycles, and stress responses. It receives vast amounts of sensory information, both internal and external, and integrates it with our emotional state, then sends powerful signals down to the brainstem and spinal cord to activate or inhibit the sympathetic and parasympathetic outflows. This is why a sudden fright can make your heart race and your palms sweat. The limbic system, our emotional brain, communicates with the hypothalamus, which then floods your spinal cord with sympathetic activation. Even our prefrontal cortex, the seat of conscious thought, planning and decision-making, can exert control over autonomic functions. Through practices like meditation or biofeedback, we can learn to consciously influence our heart rate, breathing, and even blood pressure. This remarkable capacity highlights the deep bidirectional connection between our highest cognitive functions and the seemingly automatic operations governed by the spinal cord. The spinal cord in this context is not merely a reactive reflex machine. It is a responsive partner in maintaining our internal equilibrium, constantly communicating with and receiving directives from the brain's profound wisdom. And finally, we touch upon the spinal cord's enduring capacity for plasticity, a concept we introduced early in our journey. While the brain is often celebrated for its ability to learn and adapt, the spinal cord itself is far from static. It exhibits its own forms of plasticity, constantly refining its pathways and connections based on experience and the demands placed upon it. This adaptability is crucial, for example, in rehabilitation after injury. When a spinal cord injury occurs, the remaining intact pathways and even the segments below the lesion can undergo remarkable reorganization, attempting to compensate and find new ways to transmit signals. This intrinsic flexibility, influenced by both descending brain signals and local activity, underscores the spinal cord's role not just as a static conduit, but as a living, dynamic entity capable of subtle yet profound adaptation. It speaks to the resilience woven into the very fabric of our being, a quiet testament to life's persistent drive to find a way. As we conclude this exploration, we realize that the human spinal cord is far more than a simple bundle of nerves. It is a marvel of biomechanical engineering, a sophisticated information processor, a crucial bridge between thought and action, sensation and perception. It is the central pillar in the grand architecture of the central nervous system, constantly communicating, integrating and adapting. It works in concert with the brain, each component enhancing and informing the other, creating the seamless, complex and wondrous experience of being human. We have traversed the pathways, understood the structures, and appreciated the functions. Now, with this holistic understanding, we are ready to venture further, perhaps to explore the very essence of the brain itself, that ultimate orchestrator, or to delve into the intricate dance between mind and body in even more profound ways. For now, let us simply hold this image: the spinal cord, a river of life flowing between the profound depths of our body and the soaring heights of our consciousness, a quiet testament to the patient artistry of nature. We carry this knowledge with us, a deeper appreciation for the silent, tireless work that unfolds within each of us, every single moment. Here we are again, at the quiet heart of our exploration, standing at the precipice of understanding, looking back at the incredible journey we've undertaken together. We've traced the delicate fibers of the spinal cord, from its protective, bony sheath to the intricate dance of its neural circuits. We've mapped the pathways of sensation and command, witnessed the silent orchestrations of reflexes, and marveled at its intelligent integration within the vast central nervous system. Chapter 6 left us with the sense of profound interconnectedness, a whisper of a deeper mystery. How does this living cable, this superhighway of life, contribute to the tapestry of our conscious experience, to the very essence of who we are? Today, we delve into that mystery, not to solve it definitively, for some wonders are meant to be eternally contemplated, but to appreciate the spinal cord's profound, often unacknowledged contribution to the rich, subjective world we inhabit. We invite you now to step beyond the mere mechanics, to feel the pulse of meaning that flows through these vital pathways. Think for a moment about perception. We spoke of sensory information, touch, temperature, proprioception, ascending the spinal cord, relayed through the thalamus, and finally reaching the somatosensory cortex. But what happens then? A raw electrical signal is not the experience of velvet against skin, nor the sharp bite of winter air, nor the subtle shift of our body in space. It is the brain, yes, that ultimately translates these signals into conscious awareness, into meaning. Yet the spinal cord is the first crucial filter, the initial interpreter of these raw data streams. It doesn't merely transmit, it processes. It sifts, prioritizes, and sometimes even suppresses information before it ever reaches the higher centers. Imagine the spinal cord as the skilled editor of a sprawling manuscript. Before the grand narrative reaches the discerning eyes of the cerebral cortex, the spinal cord has already performed countless subtle adjustments. It sharpens focus, dampens irrelevant background noise, and highlights what truly matters in the moment. When you brush your hand against a rough surface, it's not just a signal of texture that travels upward. It's a complex pattern, refined and modulated, that allows your brain to quickly identify it as rough, and to associate it with past experiences, perhaps even evoking a memory or an emotion. The spinal cord, in its quiet diligence, primes the brain for these richer interpretations, laying the groundwork for the intricate dance of perception. Without its meticulous pre-processing, the brain would be overwhelmed by an unfiltered deluge of data, incapable of forming the coherent, meaningful world we experience. Consider, too, the intricate ballet of our movements. We discussed the descending motor pathways, the brain's commands flowing down to the muscles. But the spinal cord is far more than a passive conduit. It is a choreographer in its own right, a local conductor of the muscular symphony. When you learn to ride a bicycle, to play a musical instrument, or to master a complex dance step, the initial stages are clumsy, requiring immense conscious effort from the brain. But with practice, these actions become fluid, almost automatic. This isn't solely the brain taking over. It's the spinal cord's circuits learning, adapting, and becoming increasingly efficient. Through repeated motor commands and sensory feedback, the interneurons within the spinal cord establish more robust and efficient pathways. They begin to anticipate, to coordinate muscle groups in complex sequences without needing explicit instructions for every single contraction. This is a form of motor memory or procedural memory that has a significant residence within the spinal cord itself. It's why an experienced dancer can execute a series of intricate moves while simultaneously engaging in conversation, or why a seasoned musician's fingers seem to move with a life of their own across the fretboard. The brain sets the intention, but the spinal cord, having learned the routine, executes the fine-tuned orchestration, freeing the brain for higher-level thought and creativity. It is a testament to the spinal cord's profound plasticity, its capacity to learn and adapt, not just as a static anatomical structure, but as a dynamic, evolving intelligence. And what of our emotions? While the seat of our feelings resides primarily in the brain's limbic system, their physical manifestations, the racing heart of fear, the flushed cheeks of embarrassment, the butterflies of anticipation, are all orchestrated through the spinal cord. The autonomic nervous system, with its sympathetic fight or flight and parasympathetic rest and digest branches, has its outflow through the spinal cord. When your brain registers a threat, the cascade of signals that prepares your body for action, diverting blood to muscles, accelerating your heart rate, dilating your pupils, all travel down the spinal cord to their respective targets. Conversely, the physical sensations generated by these bodily changes feed back up the spinal cord to the brain, intensifying or shaping the emotional experience. We don't just think we're afraid, we feel our fear in our racing pulse and shallow breath, and these physical sensations reinforce the emotion. The spinal cord acts as a physical echo chamber for our emotional states, a vital bridge connecting our subjective feelings to our embodied reality. It reminds us that mind and body are not separate entities, but an exquisitely interwoven whole, with the spinal cord serving as a crucial junction where our inner world meets our physical self. Perhaps the most profound aspect of the spinal cord's contribution is its role as the quiet, unsung hero of our everyday existence. We are seldom consciously aware of its tireless work. We don't think about maintaining our posture as we sit or stand, yet countless reflexive adjustments orchestrated by the spinal cord keep us upright against gravity. We don't consciously direct the intricate muscle contractions that allow us to walk smoothly, one foot following the other, yet the spinal cord's central pattern generators are humming with activity, coordinating this complex locomotion. It is the silent, constant hum of life, the invisible scaffolding that supports our every move, our every sensation. It works diligently in the background, maintaining homeostasis, responding to subtle shifts in our environment, and ensuring the seamless flow of information that underpins our very being. This constant unconscious activity frees our conscious mind to ponder, to create, to connect, and to dream. Without this foundational intelligent work of the spinal cord, our higher cognitive functions would be utterly consumed by the minute details of bodily management. And in the face of challenge, the spinal cord reveals another layer of its wonder, its resilience and adaptive capacity. We touched upon plasticity, but it extends even to the realm of injury and recovery. While severe spinal cord injuries present immense challenges, the nervous system itself possesses an inherent drive to adapt, to find new pathways, to compensate. Researchers continue to uncover the remarkable potential for regeneration and functional recovery, demonstrating that even in adversity, the spinal cord is not a static structure but a dynamic landscape capable of subtle shifts and heroic efforts to re-establish connection. This capacity for adaptation, for finding new ways to bridge gaps and restore function, speaks to the profound intelligence embedded within its very design. So where does this leave us with our unresolved mystery? It doesn't provide a simple answer to the enigma of consciousness or the mind-body problem. Instead, it deepens our appreciation for the intricate, indispensable role of the spinal cord in these grand questions. It shows us that consciousness is not solely a product of the brain, but emerges from the entire nervous system, a grand symphony where every instrument, every player is vital. The spinal cord is not merely a conduit, it is an active participant, an intelligent collaborator in the creation of our subjective reality, our movements, our emotions, and our enduring sense of self. As we conclude this chapter, and indeed our focused journey into the human spinal cord, we invite you to carry this sense of wonder with you. Look at your hand, feel the ground beneath your feet, listen to the ambient sounds around you. Remember that beneath the surface, a silent, intelligent, and profoundly beautiful network is at work, constantly connecting your inner world to the outer, weaving the rich tapestry of your existence. The spinal cord in its quiet power is a testament to the patient artistry of nature, a masterpiece of biomechanical engineering that hums with the very essence of life. It stands as a constant reminder of the incredible complexity and elegance that define us, an open invitation to continue marveling at the living mystery that is the human body. We have journeyed far, haven't we, fellow travellers of curiosity? From the protective fortress of the vertebral column to the intricate dance of neurotransmitters, from the pathways of sensation and movement to the very thresholds of consciousness, we have explored the spinal cord not merely as a biological structure, but as a living testament to the profound artistry of existence. In our previous contemplation, we unveiled its role as an unsung hero, a silent collaborator in the grand narrative of our subjective reality, a foundational architect of our very sense of self. Now, as our shared exploration draws to a gentle close, we invite you to step back with us, to widen our gaze and embrace the magnificent panorama that emerges when we weave all these threads of understanding into a single, shimmering tapestry. Consider for a moment the vast, intricate network we have uncovered. The spinal cord, this elegant column of neural tissue, is not an isolated entity, but the central pillar of an extraordinary internal architecture. It is the vital bridge, the eloquent translator, between the expansive universe of our brain and the tangible reality of our physical form, connecting thought to action, sensation to perception, intention to manifestation. It is the quiet, ceaseless engine that propels us through each moment, enabling the simplest breath, the most complex dance, the tenderest touch, the most profound expression of emotion. Without its tireless, often unnoticed work, the symphony of our lives would fall silent. Think of the human body as an immense, sophisticated orchestra, each organ, each system, a section of instruments playing its part. The brain, perhaps, is the conductor, holding the score, interpreting the grand vision. But the spinal cord? The spinal cord is the principal cellist, the first violinist, the lead oboist, not merely following the conductor's baton, but providing the very foundation of the melody, the rhythmic pulse, the deep, resonant harmonies that allow the entire performance to soar. It is the living cable that carries the conductor's every nuance to the players, and simultaneously gathers the individual voices of the instruments, sending their collective sound back for interpretation. It is the primary conduit through which the music of our being flows, shaping its rhythm, its dynamics, its very timbre. This silent symphony begins with the delicate whispers of sensation. Remember the myriad receptors scattered across your skin, within your muscles, deep within your joints. They are the attentive listeners, the tireless reporters, sending their constant stream of information, the warmth of the sun, the texture of a loved one's hand, the subtle shift of your weight, the gentle ache of a tired muscle, upward through the spinal cord. Each signal, meticulously filtered and prioritized, embarks on its journey, first to the spinal cord's intelligent processing centers, then ascending to the thalamus, and finally blooming into conscious awareness within the somatosensory cortex. It is the spinal cord that ensures these sensory stories reach the brain in a coherent, meaningful narrative, allowing you to perceive the world not as a chaotic barrage, but as a rich, integrated experience. It is the initial editor, ensuring clarity and impact. And then there is movement, the breathtaking poetry of the body in motion. From the conscious decision to reach for a cup of tea, originating in the motor cortex, to the unconscious adjustments of posture as you sit or stand, guided by the extrapyramidal tracts, the spinal cord is the indispensable executor. It translates the brain's grand designs into the precise, coordinated contractions of countless muscles. It houses the lower motor neurons, the final common pathway, the very last step before a nerve impulse becomes a physical action. But more than that, it orchestrates the intricate dance of interneurons, forming complex motor programs, refining movements, and even developing the motor memory that allows you to walk, cycle, or play a musical instrument with effortless grace. It frees your conscious mind from the minute details, allowing you to simply do, to be, to create. The spinal cord is the master choreographer, ensuring that every step, every gesture, every nuance of physical expression is executed with a seamless precision. But its contributions extend even deeper, touching the very core of our emotional landscape. We discussed how the spinal cord acts as a conduit and a processing hub for the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches that regulate our internal world. When fear grips you, it is the spinal cord that rapidly relays the brain's alarm signals, initiating the cascade of physiological changes, a racing heart, quickened breath, heightened vigilance. When tranquility descends, it is the parasympathetic outflow from the sacral spinal cord that helps restore calm, slowing your heart, easing your breath, guiding your body back to a state of rest and digest. The spinal cord, then, is not merely a passive conduit for these emotional currents. It is an active participant, translating the abstract language of feeling into the concrete reality of bodily sensation, allowing you to feel your emotions, to experience them in your gut, your chest, your very skin. It is the silent resonance chamber where emotion finds its physical voice. Perhaps the most profound realization of our journey is the spinal cord's dynamic nature, its remarkable plasticity. This is not a static structure, but a living, adapting entity, constantly rewiring, strengthening, and even forming new connections in response to your experiences, your learning, your very life. It embodies the principle of use it or lose it, growing stronger with practice, adapting to challenges, and even demonstrating incredible resilience in the face of injury, often finding new pathways, new strategies to restore function. This capacity for adaptation is a testament to the elegant design of nature, a silent promise of ongoing evolution, even within the confines of a single lifetime. The spinal cord is a testament to life's enduring capacity for renewal and improvisation. As we stand at this vantage point, looking back at the intricate landscape we have traversed, we hope you feel not just informed, but genuinely awestruck. The human spinal cord, in its quiet power and unassuming elegance, is a masterpiece of biomechanical engineering, a testament to the patient artistry of evolution. It is a structure that demands our reverence, our appreciation, and our renewed sense of wonder for the miracle of the human body. It hums with the silent energy of life, weaving together the threads of sensation, movement, and emotion into the rich tapestry of who you are. We invite you now to carry this understanding with you. Let it deepen your appreciation for every breath you take, every step you make, every feeling that stirs within you. When you move, feel the intricate coordination orchestrated by your spinal cord. When you touch, recognize the ancient pathways bringing that sensation to life. When you feel, acknowledge the profound connection between your mind and your physical being, mediated by this unsung hero. The Dreamy Academy is not merely a place for lectures, it is a space designed to ignite curiosity, to foster wonder, and to reveal the hidden poetry within the scientific. We believe that by understanding the intricate mechanisms that underpin our existence, we come to a deeper, more profound appreciation of life itself. The spinal cord, in its quiet dignity, reminds us that the most vital work often happens in the shadows, unseen, uncelebrated, yet absolutely indispensable. So as we bring this particular exploration to its gentle close, we leave you not with a final answer, but with an invitation to continue observing, to continue wondering, to continue appreciating the extraordinary symphony that plays within you every single moment of every single day. The journey into the mysteries of life is endless, and each discovery, no matter how small, adds another note to the magnificent, ever-unfolding melody of human understanding. Thank you for joining us on this wondrous expedition into the heart of the nervous system, into the silent symphony of self. May your curiosity ever lead you to new horizons of wonder. And so our journey through the intricate landscape of the spinal cord brings us to a new horizon, does it not? We have marveled at its quiet strength, its delicate complexity, its vital role as the central conduit of life's whispers and commands. We have seen it as the unsung hero, the intelligent collaborator, tirelessly orchestrating the symphony of our physical existence. But as we stand at the threshold of these deeper understandings, a question naturally arises, a profound invitation to venture further. What of the master conductor, the grand orchestrator that sends these commands and interprets these whispers? What of the brain itself, and the intricate ceaseless dance between mind and body that defines our very being? Today, we gently turn our gaze upward, following the grand highway of the spinal cord as it ascends into the most complex and wondrous structure known to us, the human brain. Here, within the protective vault of the skull, resides the engine of our thoughts, the wellspring of our emotions, the architect of our dreams, and the seat of our consciousness. Yet, as we embark on this exploration, let us remember that the brain is never truly separate from the spinal cord. They are two sides of the same living coin, woven together into a singular, magnificent tapestry of neural communication. Imagine, if you will, that we are now entering the grandest library, the most sophisticated control tower, the most magnificent inner universe you could ever conceive. This is the cerebrum, the largest part of our brain, with its characteristic wrinkled surface, the cerebral cortex. These folds, these gyri and sulci, are not merely aesthetic. They are the ingenious design of evolution, maximizing surface area within the confined space, allowing for billions upon billions of neurons to reside here, each a tiny star in a vast interconnected galaxy. The cerebrum, as we know, is divided into two hemispheres, left and right, each specializing in different aspects of our experience, yet constantly communicating through a thick band of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. And within each hemisphere we find distinct lobes, each contributing its unique genius to our overall functionality. The frontal lobe, residing just behind your forehead, is the command center, the seat of executive functions, planning, decision-making, problem-solving, personality, and voluntary movement. It is here that the initial spark of a conscious decision to move your hand originates, a spark that will then travel down the mighty corticospinal tract we explored earlier, through the spinal cord to activate the muscles. Behind the frontal lobe we encounter the parietal lobe, the grand interpreter of our senses. It processes touch, temperature, pain, and proprioception, the very signals that have journeyed up the dorsal column medial lemniscus and spinothalamic pathways of your spinal cord. It is here that these raw sensory data are transformed into a coherent map of your body in space, a rich, textured understanding of your immediate environment. Remember the sensory homunculus, that distorted map of the body's sensitivity. It lives here, within the parietal cortex, painting your reality with exquisite detail. Further back, at the posterior of the cerebrum, lies the occipital lobe, dedicated almost entirely to vision. It is the canvas upon which the world is painted for your inner eye, processing the light and shadow, colour and form that stream in through your eyes. And finally, nestled beneath the parietal and frontal lobes, we find the temporal lobe, the auditor of our world, processing sounds, understanding language, and playing a crucial role in memory formation. But the brain is not merely a collection of specialized regions. It is a dynamic, living network where information flows ceaselessly, integrating and synthesizing. Consider the limbic system, a profound and ancient network deep within the cerebrum, often called the emotional brain. Here, structures like the hippocampus diligently lay down anew memories, shaping our personal history, while the amygdala acts as the sentinel, processing emotions, particularly fear and pleasure, colouring our experiences with urgency and meaning. The hypothalamus, a small but mighty structure, stands as a crucial bridge between our emotions and our bodily responses, orchestrating the autonomic nervous system. Think of it. When a sudden fright triggers a surge of adrenaline, causing your heart to pound and your breath to quicken, that emotional signal originates within this limbic system, then cascades down through the brainstem and into the sympathetic pathways of your spinal cord, ultimately reaching your organs. The spinal cord, in this instance, is not just a passive wire, it is the activated conduit for your body's emotional echo, translating inner feeling into physiological reality. This is the profound connection, the intricate dance we speak of, where the ethereal world of emotion finds its physical expression through the diligent pathways of your spinal cord. As we move our gaze slightly lower, beneath the posterior part of the cerebrum, we encounter another marvel, the cerebellum, or little brain. Its densely folded surface, reminiscent of a miniature cauliflower, belies its monumental importance. The cerebellum is the grand coordinator, the master refiner of movement. It doesn't initiate movement. Rather, it takes the rough sketches of motor commands from the cerebral cortex and sculpts them into smooth, precise, graceful actions. Are you walking without stumbling? Are you reaching for a cup without overshooting? Are you maintaining your balance while standing? All this is the quiet genius of your cerebellum at work. It achieves this through a constant rapid feedback loop. It receives continuous sensory information about your body's position from the spinal cord, proprioceptive data telling it exactly where your limbs are in space. Simultaneously, it receives copies of motor commands from the cerebral cortex. It then compares the intended movement with the actual movement, making real-time adjustments, sending refined instructions back up to the motor cortex and down to the spinal cord, ensuring every action is executed with flawless precision. It's like a highly skilled editor taking the raw manuscript of your intentions and polishing it into a masterpiece of motion. And let us not forget the whole brainstem, the ancient foundational pillar upon which both the cerebrum and cerebellum rest, and from which the spinal cord emerges. Comprising the midbrain pons and medulla oblongata, the brainstem is the vital bridge, the central hub for all ascending and descending pathways, including those we have meticulously traced through the spinal cord. But more than a mere bridge, it is the control center for our most fundamental life-sustaining functions: breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, sleep-wake cycles, and consciousness itself. Without the brainstem, the grand symphony of life would cease. It is the direct extension of the spinal cord, forming the core living cable that keeps us alive, moment by precious moment. So you see, the brain is not a solitary monarch, ruling from an ivory tower. It is a magnificent collaborative ecosystem, constantly engaged in a profound dialogue with its faithful partner, the spinal cord. Every thought, every emotion, every sensation, every movement is the result of this intricate dance, this seamless exchange of information. The brain conceives, plans, and interprets. The spinal cord faithfully transmits, coordinates, and executes, often with its own local intelligence, as we have seen with the reflexes. This profound interconnectedness forms the very foundation of what we perceive as the mind-body connection. Your deepest thoughts, your most fleeting emotions, your most complex intentions, they are not ethereal entities floating in a vacuum. They are born from the intricate electrical and chemical ballet within your brain, and they find their physical manifestation, their grounding in reality, through the pathways of your spinal cord. The spinal cord is not just a passive courier, it is an active participant in your conscious experience, a physical echo chamber for your emotions, a repository of learned movements, and the diligent manager of countless unconscious bodily functions that free your mind to contemplate the stars or compose a symphony. As we conclude this chapter, let us carry with us a renewed sense of awe for this integrated system. We have journeyed from the delicate nerve roots of the spinal cord, through its mighty ascending and descending tracts, to the grand architecture of the brain, the cerebrum, the limbic system, the cerebellum, the brainstem. We have seen how each part, with its unique brilliance, contributes to the whole, and how the spinal cord remains the unwavering, intelligent collaborator at the heart of it all. This intricate dance, this ceaseless conversation between brain and spinal cord is the very essence of life, of consciousness, of what it means to be human. It is a mystery we continue to unravel, a beauty we continue to appreciate, and a testament to the patient artistry of nature. And perhaps in understanding this profound connection, we begin to understand ourselves a little more deeply, a little more reverently, and so, having journeyed through the individual marvels that compose our brain, the vast undulating landscapes of the cerebrum, the ancient emotional heart of the limbic system, the intricate silent dance of the cerebellum, and the steadfast life-sustaining pillar of the brainstem, we arrive now at a deeper appreciation. For while each of these regions holds its own profound significance, their true magic, their most breathtaking artistry, lies not in their isolation, but in their ceaseless, intricate, and utterly miraculous collaboration. Imagine, if you will, that we have explored the magnificent cities and towns of a sprawling, vibrant continent. We have walked the bustling streets of the frontal lobe, gazed at the artistic wonders of the occipital, felt the deep wisdom emanating from the temporal, and understood the intricate logic of the parietal. We have visited the emotional sanctuaries of the limbic system, observed the quiet, precise movements choreographed by the cerebellum, and recognized the vital, unwavering heartbeat of the brainstem. But now we must step back and witness the entire continent come alive, connected by an invisible yet omnipresent web of communication, a symphony of interaction that gives rise to the very essence of who we are. This intricate web, this network of silent conversations, is facilitated by the brain's vast system of pathways, the white matter, tracts that crisscross its depths like countless shimmering threads in a cosmic tapestry. We speak of our association voies, those elegant internal messengers that link different areas within the same cerebral hemisphere, allowing the frontal lobe to consult with the parietal on a spatial problem, or the temporal lobe to seek input from the occipital in recognizing a familiar face. These are the local roads, the intimate pathways that allow a thought to coalesce, a perception to gain context. Then there are the commissural fibers, the grand bridges that span the divide between the two cerebral hemispheres. The most prominent among these is the corpus callosum, a colossal superhighway of millions of axons, allowing the left and right sides of our brain to share information, to collaborate, to ensure that what one hemisphere perceives or processes is seamlessly integrated with the other. It is through these magnificent bridges that our world doesn't split into two halves but remains a coherent, unified experience, a single flowing stream of consciousness. Without this constant dialogue, our perceptions, our very sense of self, would be fragmented. And finally we have the projection fibers, the vital conduits that extend vertically, connecting the cerebral cortex to lower brain regions, the brainstem, and of course the spinal cord. These are the grand avenues that carry sensory information upwards, from the tips of our toes to the highest reaches of our awareness, and motor commands downwards, from the spark of an intention to the graceful execution of a movement. They are the direct lines of communication, the unwavering channels that ensure the brain remains perpetually informed of the body's state and can exert its will upon the world. So you see, the brain is not a collection of independent departments, but a dynamic, interconnected ecosystem. Every thought, every feeling, every memory, every action is not the product of a single region, but an emergent property of these vast neural networks firing in intricate patterns across multiple areas. It is a true testament to distributed processing, where specialized regions contribute their unique expertise to a collective coherent outcome. Let us consider for a moment how this grand collaboration unfolds when we engage in something as seemingly simple as understanding and responding to language. When you hear my words now, the sound waves are first processed by the primary auditory cortex in your temporal lobe. But merely hearing is not understanding. The signals then travel to Wernicke's area, also nestled within the temporal lobe, where the meaning of the words is decoded, where the raw sounds transform into concepts and ideas. If you wish to respond, that intention to communicate sparks in your frontal lobe, specifically in areas associated with planning and decision-making. Then the linguistic plan, the sequence of words you wish to utter, is formulated in Broca's area, located in the frontal lobe. Finally, the motor commands to move your jaw, tongue, and vocal cords are dispatched from the primary motor cortex, also in the frontal lobe, traveling down through the brainstem and spinal cord to activate the muscles of speech. This is a breathtaking journey, a relay race of electrical impulses across vast distances in milliseconds, involving at least 3 distinct lobes of the cerebrum, the brainstem, and ultimately the spinal cord, all in perfect harmonious synchronicity. It is a living, breathing testament to the brain's capacity for complex integration. The limbic system, which we touched upon previously, plays an equally crucial role in this grand symphony, weaving emotion and memory into the very fabric of our cognition, the hippocampus. That elegant seahorse-shaped structure is not merely a librarian storing memories, it is a vital architect, constructing new memories and helping to retrieve old ones, constantly communicating with the cerebral cortex to embed experiences with context and meaning. And the amygdala, the almond-shaped sentinel, is ceaselessly monitoring our environment for emotional significance, especially threats or rewards. Its quick primal responses are not isolated. They send powerful signals to the prefrontal cortex in the frontal lobe, influencing our decisions, colouring our perceptions, and often overriding purely rational thought in moments of intense emotion. It is why a particular scent can instantly transport you back to a childhood memory, or why fear can sharpen your focus or conversely paralyze you. The limbic system ensures that our experiences are not just intellectual exercises, but are imbued with the richness of feeling and the weight of personal history. And what of the cerebellum, that little brain tucked neatly beneath the cerebrum? Its role extends far beyond merely coordinating movement. We are discovering its profound involvement in motor learning, allowing us to refine skills through practice, whether it's playing a musical instrument, riding a bicycle, or simply walking with grace. It acts as a silent, tireless editor, comparing our intended movements with our actual movements, sending corrective signals to ensure precision and fluidity. But its contributions don't stop there. Emerging research suggests its subtle hand in cognitive functions, from language processing and attention to emotional regulation. It is a testament to the brain's efficiency, where structures often perform multiple, interconnected roles, a true polymath of the neural world. Finally, at the base of this magnificent structure lies the brain stem, the unwavering foundation, the silent guardian of life itself. It is the conduit through which all information flows between the brain and the spinal cord, a non-negotiable bridge. But it is also a vital control center, tirelessly regulating our breath, our heartbeat, our sleep-wake cycles, our consciousness. It is the ancient core, the seat of our most fundamental existence, ensuring that the grand symphony of higher thought can play on, undisturbed by the constant vital processes happening beneath our conscious awareness. It is the steadfast anchor, forever linking the soaring intellect of the cerebrum to the grounded reality of the body through the spinal cord. So let us try to visualize this grand symphony in its entirety. Imagine a simple act. You see a beautiful flower. The light enters your eyes, is translated into electrical signals, and travels along the optic nerves to the occipital lobe. Here, the basic elements of colour, shape and form are processed, but to recognise it as a flower, to associate it with its name, its scent, its beauty, signals must travel to the temporal lobe for object recognition and memory retrieval, perhaps even evoking a memory of a loved one who gave you flowers. Simultaneously, the limbic system might ignite with a feeling of joy or appreciation. The parietal lobe helps you understand its position in space relative to you. If you then decide to reach out and touch it, your frontal lobe plans the movement, sending commands down through the motor cortex, through the brain stem, and into the spinal cord. The spinal cord then relays these commands to the muscles in your arm and hand. As you reach, the cerebellum is constantly monitoring your movement, ensuring smoothness and accuracy, adjusting your trajectory in real time. Sensory feedback from your fingers, the delicate touch of the petals, travels back up the spinal cord, through the brainstem, through the thalamus, to the somatosensory cortex in the parietal lobe, completing the loop. This entire intricate dance from perception to emotion to action unfolds in a fluid, continuous stream, an astonishing display of biological engineering. Every part contributes, every connection matters. The brain, in concert with the spinal cord, is an unparalleled masterpiece of integration, allowing us to perceive, to feel, to think, to learn, and to interact with the world in ways that are uniquely human. We have traversed the profound depths of the human nervous system, from the delicate pathways of the spinal cord to the soaring architectures of the brain. We have seen how sensation becomes perception, how intention becomes action, how raw biological processes give rise to the richness of our inner lives. The mind in this view is not a separate entity hovering above the body, but an emergent property of this exquisite interconnected system. It is the symphony itself, played out on the instrument of the brain and spinal cord. As we conclude this journey, we are left not with definitive answers to every mystery, but with an even deeper sense of wonder. The more we understand the intricate mechanisms, the more profound the marvel becomes. The quiet corner of curiosity we inhabit continues to beckon, inviting us to contemplate the ongoing enigma of consciousness, the boundless capacity for learning and the sheer breathtaking beauty of being alive within such an extraordinary biological vessel. The exploration, dear friends, never truly ends.